Right now, the internet is asking one question: what will happen to Ilhan Omar after all these fraud allegations? Will she be exposed? Will she be charged? Or is this something else entirely? I have gathered some clips for you guys. Let's watch them together. We'll come back for commentaries.
Doesn't get wet. It pours and people drowns because the Democrat Party is going deeper and deeper. I mean, this party's going to end up not in the center of the earth. It's going to punch straight through to the other side. They're going so low because now, recently, as of today, it has just exploded across the internet that Ilhan Omar's net worth has ballooned up to $30 million. Now, this comes on the heels after the Minnesota Somali congresswoman. She's a congresswoman in the U.S., but she, in previous videos, have stated that her priorities is Somali first, and that her job in Washington is to get the Americans to do anything that Somalians want. Now, this woman runs around here. She's a left-wing radical Somalian based out of Minnesota with Tampon Tim, who runs around doing all this gallivanting and uproaring about whether it be gun violence, transgender rights, child body mutilation. But now she not only is caught up in this scandal that has exposed the fact that how is it that a Congress member, a congressional woman, on a $174,000 a year salary that is not from America, that has never owned a business, has no product or services, has a net worth that has ballooned up since she's been in Congress to $30 million. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about it. And then I'm going to show you evidence and proof of the bullcrap scandal that the mainstream media refused to cover throughout the country. Did you know? Are you aware of the $250 million fraud scandal that happened in Minnesota? And you know why I just said, I just made a mistake and I said that word. But by the time you see that video, that word will be bleeped out. But a $250 million scandal, and Tim Walz, Ilhan Omar, and the rest of those, a few of those Somali politicians and local business people are wrapped up in it. As a matter of fact, one person has already been sentenced to prison. His name is Saeed. So allegedly, and I say alleged, even though there's reports all over the place that matter of fact, let me just show you better than I can tell you. So let's look at this report here. Ilhan Omar challenges people to dig into her financial records, immediately regrets it. Now, she runs around and she wants to tell America what America should do with these type of pow-pow rights and how we should treat our transgenders. But let's dig into what goes on where she's from, because she talks so negatively about America. She always has something negative to say about America and its people, but yet she fled her country to come here. So in her country, which is Somalia, let's look at what happens to people of transgender or LGBTQ in her home country. So right here it says, okay, and this is Human Dignity Trust site, Somalia. Somalia criminalizes same-sex sexual activity between men and between women. Sentences include a
All right, guys, woke Somali Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and her consultant husband, Tim Manette, are under investigation from the House Oversight Committee. Well, now that investigation has gone overseas, as it looks like Omar and her husband are making money in Somalia, Dubai, and really all over the place. Now, you remember there were $9 billion in fraud coming out of the state of Minnesota, specifically from Ilhan Omar's district, and it looks like some of that money is going back over to Somalia. And if you remember, Ilhan Omar came into Congress with a negative $65,000 net worth, and now her and her husband are worth up to $30 million. Something isn't adding up. Take a look.
Meanwhile, the House Oversight investigation into Minnesota Squad Democrat Ilhan Omar is going global. The committee is now looking into her husband's business dealings overseas. Maddie Rivera joins us from Washington with the very latest. Good morning, Maddie.
Good morning, Griff. House Oversight Chair James Comer says he wants answers after federal disclosures show Congresswoman Omar's husband's assets grew millions of dollars in about a year. The bulk of Tim Minette's wealth comes from two ventures, a California-based winery and a D.C.-based venture capital firm. Comer says Minette's stakes there grew from $51,000 in 2023 to as much as $30 million in 2024. Now, the New York Post reports Comer wants the House Ethics Committee to look beyond Minette's businesses in the U.S. and include places like Somalia, Kenya, and the United Arab Emirates. The Post reports Minette's investment firm wanted to build solar panels in Africa. In a letter to Minette from February 5th, Comer writes, there are serious public concerns about how your businesses increased so dramatically in value only a year after reporting very limited assets. Omar contends she did nothing wrong and says her wealth came from her husband. The House Oversight Committee began the initial probe into the couple and atypical move given that the House Ethics Committee usually handles allegations involving lawmakers and their families. But it grew out of Comer's efforts to investigate alleged fraud in Minnesota. There's a long history of lawmakers taking office and raking in cash. There are similar questions about the income of Omar's fellow squad member, Ayanna Pressley.
I love how Ilhan Omar just tries to say, oh, no, it's just my husband's money, nothing to see here. Well, if we look at her husband, he had $50,000 in these businesses, and now 1 year later, they're worth up to $30 million. That doesn't make sense for anybody. Ayanna Pressley, the same story with her husband. They went from a negative net worth to $8 million. Something needs to be done. We have these investigations happening, but let's remember, if the Democrats take back the House, all these investigations stop. Take a look at this.
Guys, I mean, it's an interesting situation we have here. I mean, there's a lot of explaining to do, wouldn't you say?
That's what you do. Yeah. When, when the GDP of Somalia is $12 billion and we have $9 billion that has been lost in Minneapolis, it does kind of raise some kind of questions.
And some saying the number could be actually much higher than that, much higher than that. And you see all of this really shady business dealings here from Ilhan Omar. The attention on Minnesota corruption, and specifically the role of Ilhan Omar, cannot be overshadowed. We had Brandon Gill on, as you remember, last weekend, and he says that he promises that the House Republicans will get to the bottom of this potential scandal before the midterms, because if the Republicans lose the House, Griff, these investigations will go away.
Oh, and they're going to change very much in the...
This is your first time here. I am glad you have found this channel. Don't forget to like and click the notification bell. And as always, credit goes to the original creator of the video clips used in this episode. And for disclaimer purposes, these videos are for educational commentaries and is not meant to aid or discriminate anyone. Let's watch more clips.
Been a former political consultant, owns a venture capital firm based in Washington, D.C., and a winery in California. Take a look at these numbers. In 2023, Omar disclosed a maximum of $50,000 in assets at the winery. The next year, Dana, that number increased to $5 million. Meanwhile, her husband's company, Rose Lake Capital, reported a maximum of $1,000 in assets in 2023. The next year, it was $25 million. Despite that, Omar denied being a millionaire earlier this year, posting on X, quote, "I barely have thousands, let alone millions." House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer tells Fox News an investigation is underway, writing, quote, "The committee is working on addressing ethics concerns regarding Representative Omar and her spouse, and we hope to have an update soon." But Omar says she's being targeted.
Ever since I've gotten to Congress, they have been doing these sort of weird ethics investigations.
Hey, fraudster, maybe it's because you're telling us you're broke, but we're seeing all this money that you're making.
None of them have yielded anything because I have been as transparent as I can be.
Of course, others see it differently. Elon Musk says Omar committed fraud, while President Donald Trump posted on Truth Social, quote, "She should be in jail or even a worse punishment, sent back to Somalia."
Here's Ilhan Omar getting confronted over this. Usually she's snarky and arrogant and has something to say, but it was crickets this time around and total panic in her face.
Congresswoman, can you tell us what your response is to the Oversight Committee launching an investigation into your net worth, you and your husband's net worth? They're claiming that it's risen rapidly. What's your response to what they're saying? Do you think they'll find anything in their investigation into your net worth?
You have the right to remain silent, or anything you say can be used against you in the court of law. President Trump is now directing Pam Bondi, saying Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is worth over $30 million. There's no way such wealth could have been accumulated legally while being paid the salary of a politician. She should be investigated for financial and political crimes, and that investigation should start now. Here's Ilhan Omar's congressional colleague, Tom Emmer, saying this is not legal. She's going to have to answer for this.
I suspect that it's not legal. Who knows? You don't see that kind of change. I mean, she reported on her disclosures around here about a $65,000 net worth just a couple of years back. And now, like you point out, Charlie, she's reporting it's $30 million.
So where's Ilhan getting all this money? Ladies and gentlemen, joining me today is perhaps the only man in the world on the planet who knows how these Congress members like Ilhan Omar get 10,000% returns in a single year. Ross Givens is a 20-year veteran on the stock market, actually a former vice president at JP Morgan Chase, and he's the leading expert on insider trading. And when I heard this guy explain some of this stuff to me, it was crazy. It was actually mind-blowing. Everyone should really get to understand this information. So I have partnered with Ross to put on a completely free training coming up this Thursday, January 29th, 3 p.m. Eastern. Okay, that's very early for me. You guys know we're night owls on this channel. You know, we're doing these shows.
I'm glad to see more people calling it out.
Ilhan Omar claiming the Justice Department and Congress probing her sudden skyrocketing wealth to $30 million in just 1 year, that they have a problem with her living the American dream. We've got new questions on where she and her husband got all that money.
True.
There's no public evidence there's even a winery.
Yep.
She valued it at $5 million. His investment firm is real.
Nobody gives a
They say they do work in 80 nations operating in. There's no SEC registrations for them as investment advisors. What is going on here? This increasingly looks sketchy, both the winery and his investment firm.
Yeah, the winery may not exist, and the firm may be just really a name only, as you say, a WeWork office. Big deal. So that's why the investigation needs to be done. And suddenly all that $30 million, I think you're going to find, I'll make a speculation and prediction, that $30 million came from sources that are illegal.
So the Minnesota fraud scandal is real. Millions meant for feeding children were stolen. People have been arrested and is now considered one of the largest fraud cases of its kind. The goal was simple: make sure kids didn't go hungry, but fake meals counts, fake attendance lists, fake operation, and suddenly the line between fact and narrative becomes something else. I want you to react to these videos and let me know what you think in the comment section. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video.